Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. First, just want to say if you haven't checked out previous videos I posted, please go check them out. I really appreciate it, especially if you like this kind of NHL content. But starting off, obviously you clicked the video because you saw I'm talking about the Boston Bruins. They are a team that I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time. Really for, I want to say, a couple weeks now. Just haven't gotten the chance to do it. I want to focus on other teams as well during that time, but it really feels right to finally talk about the Boston Bruins and what's going on with them this season. What are my thoughts on them? I'm going to break down all the statistics regarding their season, and do I think that they will have a strong chance of not just having a deep playoff run per usual, but going back all the way to the Stanley Cup like they did last season. All right, so with Boston, obviously, I'm a Rangers fan. Just in case you haven't seen my videos before, what I do is I talk about all things NHL, and I've been trying to break this down in other videos too, but I honestly just forget. But yeah, so I'm going to be talking about the Bruins. In this video, I talk about as many NHL teams as I possibly can. I do want to try to get through them all and talk about other things that are currently happening in the NHL, things that I think are worthy of making a video for. So the Boston Bruins are the topic today, so let's talk about them. The Bruins, this season, in 52 games played, have 30 wins, 10 losses, and 12 overtime losses. That's good for 74 points, and that is currently first in the Atlantic Division, and, 72 points. And they just had a huge 2 points that they won their game yesterday in Winnipeg against the Jets, and Tuukka Rask was a huge part of it, and I will get to him as well, but they also play again tonight against the Minnesota Wild, so that should be another key matchup for them as they need to continue to rack up the points with teams not too far behind them, especially the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Atlantic Division. But overall, they are still staying comfortable. Now it's just a matter of finding that consistency. So, Boston, they're 6-3-1 in their last 10. Not bad at all. The tiebreaker, though, when it comes to this season, and this is what I worry about with this Boston Bruins team, one of my biggest worries is they've gone out of a lot of games through making overtime or, having the lead and then blowing it, but not blowing in regulation. So they go to overtime, they go to the shootout. They have been terrible in the shootout this year, as any Boston Bruin fan would know. I believe they are the worst or one of the worst teams in the league in that category currently. And they have 12 overtime losses. So you can look at it this way. You can say, hey, Boston has 30 wins and 10 losses. Or you can look at, hey, Boston has 30 wins and 22 losses if you're counting the overtime. So that's crucial when it comes to the standings, especially towards the end of the season, because the tiebreaker in the NHL now is that if, say, one team is tied with another in the standings, like especially in their division, right, and come the end of the season, they played the same amount of games, everything. The tiebreaker will be the amount of regulation wins they have. So a good example would be currently in the wild card race in the out of the Metro, but obviously it's just part of the Eastern Conference. You have right out of the wild card, it's the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Philadelphia Flyers. They both played the same amount of games and currently have the same amount of points. I believe they both have 61. But the Blue Jackets are ahead. Or what? I'm sorry, it might be Carolina I'm thinking of. But regardless, they're right neck and neck. But the tiebreaker between them that has one over the other is the fact of their regulation wins. I'm trying to think. Carolina was a team booted out last night, I think. So Carolina, pretty sure, has 29 wins on the season, and the Flyers have 27. So, because of that reason, even though they have the same amount of points, that's why they're ahead. So, just put it in perspective. But Boston, let's look at their individual statistics, all right? So, starting with their goal scoring. David Pastrnak. Pasta has been elite this season. He has taken that next step into being not just a dominant NHL player, but being one of the best and for years to come. Pasta has 37 goals on the season. Remarkable season. Fully expect him to touch 50 or at least close to it. This goal scoring has died down a little bit since his insane run earlier in the season, but that's expected. But overall, Pasta has had a fantastic season and is showing that not just with the goal scoring, but with the assists also, and I will break that down soon. Second in goal scoring is Patrice Bergeron with 22. If you haven't seen previous videos when I've talked about Boston, then you know I'm a huge Patrice Bergeron fan. Even though I'm a Rangers fan, as you can see, Bergeron has always been one of my favorite players in the league. I think he's the most defensively responsible forward, and just how good he is in every aspect of the game, whether it be face-offs, whether it be his passing, goal scoring when needed, and back checking, playing defense, doing it the right way, penalty kill, power play, everything he does, and he does it flawlessly. So I'm a huge fan of Patrice. I love the fact that he's a humble player as well. He's not one to really brag about how he's playing at all. He's a really respectable player, and I truly admire him for those aspects. But third in goals, is Brad Marshawn. Marshawn has 21 goals. Love him or hate him, Marshawn has really been a dominant player for Boston for quite some time now. I am a little worried with them this season, and I will get to that. But Marshawn, once again, is having another strong NHL season, showing that even though he's a pest or a rat, whatever you may call him, he's still going to put up the points and take advantage about gain in the opposing team's minds. And he does it arguably the best in the NHL. Assists, Marshawn leads the way with 45. Second is Pasta with 35. And third is Torrey Krug with 28. Now, when it comes to Torrey Krug, if I'm Boston, I'm a little worried about him because he's obviously a UFA at the end of the season. And depending on how Boston plays out this season especially, that could really dictate if he stays or not. And can they afford him? That's another thing. The going rate for him, if he becomes a UFA, which he should be, is going to be a good amount, is by far. He's going to be looking for really high money as being paid one of the best defensemen in the league. What the going rate is for a guy like him who puts up point production on the power play especially. So Krug, that's going to be huge, whether they can keep him or aren't able to keep him after this season. So how they pan out the rest of the season can really dictate where they go forward with Krug. The next I have is points. Leading the way is Pasta with 72. He had just over 80 last season, so he's already on pace to blow that out of the water. Then you have Marshawn with 66. What worries me about Marshawn is the points hasn't been there like it was last year. He had a 100-point season last year, by far the best on the Bruins. But this season, I get it. There's still plenty of games to go. We still have, close to 30 games to go. But still, Marshawn is obviously having a down year from what he had last year. So how is that going to affect him, especially come playoff time? That's going to be key. And then third is Patrice Bergeron with 42 points. He's another who has been playing up the point production as well. I understand that he was hurt earlier in the season, but he had 79 points last year. So just things to put out there for comparing last season for the Bruins to this season. Now, other guys I want to keep of note. David Krejci is down in points as well. Krejci had over 70 points last year. He only has 30-something this year. I understand he was hurt too. He's only played a little bit over 40 games this season. But regardless, he is on pace to not have statistically as good of a season as he had last year. If you're accounting for the amount of games he played this year and equal to the amount of games he played last year. Charlie Coyle, though, has been playing solid. He has 27 points on the season. He only had 34 points last year when he split time between the Minnesota Wild and the Boston Bruins. So even though Coyle, he has hit 50 points in his career, he's been in the 40 range, it doesn't look like he's going to get there this season, but Coyle could very well end the season with 35, 40 points, and that would be great for this Boston team. Having Coyle really as a top 9 forward, and in a lot of cases being their third centerman. So for things like that, Coyle has been playing very solid. But another guy, another couple guys I want to talk to, I could talk about all of them, but Danton Heinen is one that kind of worries me in this team, in this bottom six. He only has 21 points on the season, which isn't terrible, but he has regressed every season he's been in the league. He had, 47 points 2 seasons ago, and then last year he had just over 30. This year, I don't know, my guess would be that he gets just a little bit over 30, but Heinen is one that really don't know what the ceiling is for him. He's obviously just a bottom six forward, but the fact that he isn't playing as well as he was a couple seasons ago isn't great for Boston's case, especially with this Boston team that doesn't have great depth offensively. Their top six, really strong, really strong. They have the best front line in the whole NHL. But after you get past that, things are kind of wishy-washy in my opinion. And then you have also Jake DeBrusk, who has 30 points this season. Really playing solid, especially been heating it up past couple weeks. DeBrusk is on pace to have the best statistical season of his career because he had 43 points last year. So let's see if he can get past that to 45, maybe even 50, but I think that's stretching it. The big difference, though, between DeBrusk is he is down by 10 or 11 goals than what he had at the end of last season. He had 27 goals last year, really looking like, wow, is DeBrusk going to be this 30, 35-point goal scorer going forward? That doesn't seem like the case, at least at this point in his career. He only has 16 goals on the season, I believe, so not sure if he's going to hit 27 again. He still has time to do it, but this hot streak will need to continue for his case, and making sure that he stays consistent, because that has been a big flaw in his game since he came in the league. But now let's get to goaltending. Tuukka Rask, who was out for around 2 weeks after being concussed in a game against the Columbus Blue Jackets, I believe. He had a monster game yesterday against the Winnipeg Jets. I believe he had 38 saves, only gave up 1 goal in the win. And in 29 games played this year, he has 18 wins, 4 losses, 6 overtime losses, 2.23 goals against average, and a save percentage of .927. So Tuukka is Tuukka. He's been one of the best goaltenders in the league for quite some time now. Had a season or two where, it looks like he was falling off a bit, but especially with being a 1A, 1B situation between him and Halak, he has really thrived. And then you look at Jaro Halak. He hasn't been as great this season, but he still is doing solid for them. In 24 games played this year, the 34-year-old goaltender has 12 wins, 6 losses, and 6 overtime losses. Has a goals allowed average of 2.47 and a save percentage of .918. So still not bad by any means, still great statistics. And overall, this goaltending has been huge for Boston and their success. Now let's get into the offensive defense. Their offense is currently 10th in the NHL with averaging 3.29 goals per game, and has the second best power play in the league. No surprise there with all the weapons they have in that top 6 at 26.04%. Now their defense, third best in the league, which is fantastic. Boston's always been known for having strong defense, especially with this current core group. They have 2.62 goals allowed per game, and they have the 4th best power play in the league at 83.87%. So special teams has not been a problem. They have been one of the best in the league. They have been for quite some time now. The offense, still solid, for sure. They're 10th. But if they could get some depth, I think that would be huge for them. I am worried about their bottom 6. I don't know how well that's going to pan out, especially come playoff time. But their defense is playing stellar, so overall there isn't too much to worry about. Boston has $3 million and 120,000 or so in cap space that they can work with currently. Now it's just a matter of what are they going to do with it. Do I think they should make moves at the deadline? Yes, I do. I think that they need to make moves for some rentals if they can possibly do it. Add more depth in that top 9 or in that bottom 6. Overall, I think they do it. They're a team that, in my opinion, would definitely put them over the edge if they landed a guy like Chris Kreider. They have inquired about Chris Kreider from what I've read, because there's been about 8 teams or so that have at least been in the running for him. I don't know if that deal would necessarily happen because of the cap space and the obvious fact of being able to re-sign him or not. I'm not sure if they would be able to do it. It seems like if they were, then it would definitely mean that they would have to let Torrey Krug walk. But just some things to throw out there. Overall, this Boston team, I fully expect them to make another deep run in the playoffs. They worry me a little bit. I don't think they are as good as they were last year. So I think this trade deadline will be crucial to their success as they hit the latter part of this NHL season. But please, let me know what you think. If you're a Boston Bruins fan, please drop a comment. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my opinions. I still think Boston will have a deep run. If they make it all the way to the conference final, that's where things get hazy as to, do I think that they have the capability of winning the Stanley Cup or not. But don't be surprised if Boston makes a deep run. But I think that they still need to make some moves in order to make that a realistic possibility. So that's going to conclude this video. Like I said, if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, all those great things. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it for all the feedback, everything that you give me. And I will be back in a couple of days for a video. So thank you once again.